Good afternoon, everybody. Today, I want to talk about value and where we as Americans and actually people all around the world have placed value and who we've placed it on. So, in America, we place a lot of value on rich people and celebrities because they're also rich. So, these people have and buy the forum to speak, and they speak to the masses. They're given the platform, and people listen to them, not because they know them, not because they're experts in their field, not because their theories are there to protect you and I, but because they're just popular, right? And I don't know why people don't vote in their own interest, but I'm here to kind of talk about what we used to value in American society and how we can use this global pandemic to change what and who we value, right? So you'll see on the board some stats, and I'll be going through these as I speak. But right now in America, our economy has come to a halt, right? We are a service-based economy, which means that if the service isn't going on, our economy grinds to a halt. So when people talk about goods and there being a trade deficit, that is strictly based on goods. America is not a goods-based economy. So there is no deficit, truly, because we have a surplus of service, and that's what drives our economy. We're a service-based economy, not a goods-based economy. And we're seeing that now. So when people try to talk about, oh, the trade deficit and imposing tariffs and blah, 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 that will only help a small fraction of the time because that's not what our economy is based on, right? It's service. And right now, during this pandemic, who is supplying service? Let's take a look at that, right? Is it the CEOs and billionaires? Are they providing a crucial service? Are they still continuing to pay their employees during this time? Or is it the people in the fields, the illegal aliens who aren't illegal because this is their land and it was before we came here, right? They're in the fields, they're picking fruit and vegetables and food for us, getting sprayed with chemicals that cause cancer, with no health insurance, and probably not getting paid minimum wage because they have no protection or very little protection from us and our government. But without them, we wouldn't be able to eat. If you think it's bad now, imagine not having access to food, because Maslow's hierarchy of needs places food, shelter, water, and safety at the bottom, right? Without these bottom level basic human rights, you cannot think about anything else. You can't have a conscious evolution. You can't come to have a philosophical thought on things because you don't have your base needs met. Poor people have been fighting for their basic human rights for forever in this country. So regardless of that point, the workers are out there in the fields making sure that we can still eat. The nurses and the doctors don't have the equipment that they need, and we can't get it to them, right? The teachers are still, like, I have a friend who deals with emotionally challenged students. These students have a horrible home environment, which is why they're in her class. They're now forced to be at home with their parents 24/7. The teachers are trying to be there for them, but it's hard, right? Your kids would go to school and your teachers would have your kids more than you do throughout the week. So if your kids are assholes and you can't stand them, you're raising horrible people. So now you use this time to fix that, right? So let's talk about value though. The CEOs and the billionaires. Let's talk about them for a little bit. There's about 621 billionaires in America. 400 of those billionaires, the top of 400 of the 621, the wealthiest, have a combined net worth of $2.9 trillion. 400 people have a wealth of $2.9 trillion. To put that into perspective, the American GDP, $21.4 trillion. For the first time in history, the billionaires pay effective tax rate that's less than the average American. They pay 23% tax rate, and that doesn't include how they hide paying some of their assets, right? Some things don't get taxed in the same way. A lot of their wealth doesn't get taxed. But you and I pay around 24 to 28% tax every year. The billionaires have more wealth than 60% of America. 0.01%, like the ultra wealthy, own more than 80% of Americans combined, right? 80% of us, that 0.01 owns more than all of us put together. Let's talk about how much it would cost to end homelessness, feed everybody in the world, not just in US, but like end homelessness in the US, feed everybody in the world, and educate everybody in college for free so that people can understand how to reason, right? Like how to do deductive reasoning, how to understand when someone's lying to you, how to understand when you're voting against your own interests, right? Instead of siding on the side of the rich, famous, and billionaires, get on your own side, right? How do we do that? Let's talk about it. To end homelessness in America, the only numbers that I found were from 2014. And at that time, it said it would cost $20 billion to end homelessness. So I just tripled it to make it 60 because it's been 6 years. So I overinflated it because I know that's enough. 60 billion. To give everybody college level education for free in America, so we're not just dumb, confident idiots. 79 billion to give everybody a college education, give us a fucking chance, right? To feed everybody in the world, not just in America, but in the world. There's a wide range, $7 to $265 billion. So let's take the high number. Add all of that up, it's $404 billion only. The top 400 people in America have a net worth of 2.9 trillion. GDP is $21.4 trillion in 2019. So even if you took the 0.4, that would pay for all of these things. Why isn't this happening? Why do we continue to vote against our own interests? Why do we allow the political parties to think that we can't do this? It doesn't make any sense. And why do people believe them? We spend $693 billion on our military every year. That does not include the $201 billion for the VA, which they deserve, right? Like this is the health insurance for people who are traumatized and wounded. Our nuclear program, $15.2 billion, so altogether $902 billion. Plus there's some more billions I just didn't throw in there. So it's almost $1 trillion every year we spend on the military. Why? The next 7 countries combined still don't spend $693 billion, like 603, 7 countries spend together. We spend so much on hurting people and war, right? When we could still have $200 billion to spend on that kind of stuff, but feed everybody. Give everybody a home. Educate people. Why are they trying to keep us dumb, right? And divided. If anything, this global pandemic proves how connected we all are. How, when we move as one, the impact that it has. The world's come to a halt. The earth is healing itself. She's healing herself. Every day that the human virus, just stay at home and chill, walk around versus drive, right? Don't overconsume. LA has no pollution for 3 weeks. The canals in Venice are clean, right? It's just like astronomical. So when people say that collective movement isn't possible towards good, don't believe them. As fast as we can digress into hate and violence, we can also progress into good and the light, right? It doesn't have to be, we're just a violent species and it comes so naturally. That's bullshit. We're also full of love, right? And compassion and hope. In times of crisis, that's when people come together the most to help each other. And this is a time of crisis. This is a time where we don't have to be led by fear, but it's time to wake up, right? The way the current system works was only for the top few, not the billions of people in the world, right? It doesn't have to be like that. There's plenty in the world for everybody. I saw a documentary once on food and how much we waste. We just throw away enough food to feed everybody because we're trying to make money off of it. One day there won't be enough if we keep on going down that path just to make money off of resources when that's a basic human right. If we all had full bellies and education and a place to live, think about those people who don't have access to it, what kind of ideas they could have, right? Like, who knows who could be a benefit to society as a whole? Instead, we villainize these people who need help when it costs so little to help them. Why would we do that? Because we want to keep centralizing wealth to like less and less people who won't share? Have any of the billionaires shared any of their money? Have they helped stimulate the economy by sharing, by continuing to employ people instead of laying them off? No. So follow these people that you think are in it for you, right? That policies you believe in. If they're rich, like ultra rich, and they aren't sharing and they're saying no to helping, wake the fuck up. They're not on your side, right? We need people to wake up. We need people to understand that collective movement towards good is possible, that the way that it's been before is not healthy for the world. It's not healthy as us as human beings to live, which is why there's so much disease, right? So just use this time to reevaluate what you think is valuable. Without the Mexicans and the Latin people picking food for you, America would digress into the wild, wild west with everybody in the streets with their fucking guns shooting each other. Because that's what Americans do. We need to be smart people who care about each other, who don't villainize people who are supplying our basic needs, the people who keep us healthy. We should be giving them everything they ask for right now. There should be no pushback. There should be no how much does it cost? Who gives a fuck? Help them. We have enough. Take it from the military. We don't need them right now. We actually never needed them to be so strong, to build planes that don't fly, spend trillions on planes that don't fly. Why? Someone's obviously taking that money. And you can see who takes it by who has the wealth. If corporations don't pay any taxes or pay if Amazon pays 1.2% in taxes, but yet gets subsidized with our tax money, something's wrong, right? They should be subsidizing themselves. That's not capitalism. It's not true capitalism if the people are subsidizing corporations. Corporations need to exist on their own. That's the whole point. If they can't exist on their own, they fail. That's capitalism, right? It's not, oh, I have a company subsidize me so I can be successful, and then I won't pay taxes and I become the richest man in the world. That's not the way that capitalism works. We have a false capitalistic society. So when you and I, or anybody who's not a billionaire, gets on the side of billionaires saying, oh, they pay so much in taxes, well, guess what? That rhetoric only works because they neglect to say how much they keep. They keep way more than they pay in taxes, and they have hundreds of millions, sometimes billions of dollars that remains after taxes. That's the point. How much do you keep after taxes? So who gives a shit if the billionaires pay $1 billion in taxes if they keep 10 of it? Doesn't make any sense. Stop being on their side. They aren't on your side. A lot of them say, oh, I don't want to pay more taxes. I don't want to pay, right? And they don't have to because that's the way that the tax laws are written, again, because they've influenced our legislature to benefit them. So they're paying what they have to as required by law, which isn't much. But a lot of them say, you can Google it, please do, they don't trust the government to disperse the funds correctly. And that's a good point. Our government does not disperse funds well. If they did, all of these things I just listed, homelessness, food, education, would be free. Not the military, right? So I get that point. But what do they do? The billionaires, they create these charitable foundations. Yet another way for them to dodge paying taxes because guess what? It's a tax write-off. So they channel their billions into their own foundations. And I'm sure they help a little bit, but it's also a way to keep and save more money. So don't fucking believe these people. Even Warren Buffett, just a few years ago, because now that he's old, said out loud that he should have been paying more taxes this whole time. Yeah, now that you're faced with death and you look back on who you were as a person, were you a good person or were you just fucking greedy? Right? So don't side on the side of the rich and famous. Side on yourself. Side on your fellow Americans. Side on the people who supply your basic human needs. Right? Don't villainize these people. They aren't the villains. Right now, they're our saviors. Just think about it for a second, right? Make a different choice. Hold them accountable. Spread this shit out. Spread this knowledge out. Stop letting them just take and take and take from us and get richer and richer and richer. Well, Flint doesn't have water. Kids are hungry. Most kids go to school to eat. It's a fucking travesty when all these people have all this money. Why are we spending so much on the military when everybody needs something? To keep us dumb and suppressed, but yet still spending money so again, they can make more money. Why do you think that Amazon and Walmart don't want you to unionize? Why do you think that we had to unionize back then during the Great Depression or before it? / after it? Why do you think we had to do that? Because rich people don't share. The working conditions were shit. They paid them like shit, but yet made so much money and kept it all. They centralized their wealth and power. Walmart, Amazon, they don't want you to be full-time workers because then they have to pay the benefits. Right? So they keep people as contractors, part-time workers, so they don't have to give them anything. It's time to wake the fuck up. There should be a cap on how much money people can have. Even if it's $2 billion, even if it's $5 billion, it's more than most people will have in their whole entire life, right? And the more people that are educated, the better our society will rise and become, right? Having more smart people and sharing the wealth isn't a bad thing.